Hey, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I am your host, just a humble ink and superhero merchant named Ethan Van Sciver, artist at DC Comics, and today we're going to carry on with the secret commentary tracks for Flash Rebirth. This is going to be issue number 4. Now, I looked downstairs in my basement and I couldn't find a copy of the normal or the regular edition of Flash Rebirth number 4, which looked like this, and this is one of my favorite covers that I've ever done. It was, I think, an almost perfect success. Out of 100, I'd score myself a 97. I wish this lightning bolt was a little bit cleaner. That's my only complaint. But really, the idea of symbolizing the coming of Reverse Flash here with this nice yellow background, this reverse lightning bolt that looks like a Z for zoom. And inside the lightning bolt we can actually see police scientist Barry Allen becoming the Flash as chemicals spill all over him. I think it's pretty good. It's what I set out to do. Is it perfect? Almost. Almost. I really do like it. I think it's classy and I think it's smart, and that's fine. For the variant cover, however, they asked me to do a nice splashy shot of Zoom, and here he is. Here's the good professor holding his lightning rod, surrounded by the remains of poor Johnny Quick, classic Golden Age character. I picture, he's in the Speed Force here. I picture it like a speed tunnel or a wind tunnel. It's just, stuff blowing all around, and no rhyme or reason. It just is kinetic motion. It's just inertia, in one strange alternate dimension. And his remains will float around in the Speed Force forever. So here's my Professor Zoom. Here is something that I gave him. I gave him this stick so that he could instruct Barry Allen with it. Instruct in quotes, that means smack him across the face with it, and also it would serve as a lightning rod to catch lightning, and here we go. Here's a nice little lead action figure of Professor Zoom, Bart Allen, with the cool lightning rod. So that's nice. It's like, look, he's screaming, he's like, ah. Alright, so this actually sits on my desk all the time. This is a nice little piece of work based on my work. I keep him close. Alright, so let's crack this book open. Let's have a look. First, let me just say that I think out of the entire miniseries, this issue is the best. Maybe second. It might be the second best. Issue 1 might be my best effort, just in terms of the amount of work and information and wonderfulness in that issue. There's some really, really good stuff for Flash fans in there, and I did put my heart into it. But when this gentleman shows up, everything becomes fantastic. This is the Flash's Sinestro, and he is his name's Eobard Thawne, and he is from the Thawne family. He is I would say he's the patriarch of sorts, and he is super educated in the ways of the Speed Force in ways that our heroes are not. They know what they need to know. It's not that important that they know every single aspect of the Speed Force. They know what they need to know to get things done. They are Jeep, just educated enough to perform. This gentleman, he thinks they're dumb. Okay? But this is the fun thing about drawing Reverse Flashes. You can never just draw him once. You have to, in order to draw the Reverse Flash, you have to draw him 6 or 7 times. In every panel, you've got to make him moving. He's constantly vibrating. Here, he's showing kind of disdain, but his after images are actually reacting with something more like fury and scorn. And then we stop for one moment and go still. You're early, and just exhaling Speed Force through his nostrils, his mouth, his eyes crackling with energy. He's practically a god in his element right now. Yeah, this looks good. Good job. Good job, May. All right, so immediately, before we can even get our bearings, Professor Zoom has cracked both of these guys. I mean, he's hit Max Mercury. So Max Mercury is kind of an old man. He's an older gentleman. Uh, the blood coming from his nose and mouth there, his eye being kind of wide open. We're moving so quickly that Max Mercury, who is slower than Barry Allen, doesn't even have time to facially respond to getting cracked across the face. His eye is still open. Most of us would wince or blink. There's no time for that. We're moving within split seconds. We're splitting split seconds as we fight. Yeah, and here he is now. Almost, it looks like he's anointing him almost, with his lightning rod. But it's something more demeaning than that. And in the meantime, poor Johnny Quick. What a hero he was. Yeah, he was just murdered by this man. Whew. Oh, it's just, oh, yeah, lightning rod right through the arm. Just, we're playing with him a little bit here. And the fact that he just leaves it sitting there, like, I do like this. I like Max Mercury coming in, with an uppercut out of from behind, just doing what he can. And nope, you can't. Zoom just takes off backwards and dodges the blow, and then immediately becomes a dozen Professor Zooms and punishes Max Mercury, punishes him. Pages like these take a long time to draw. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, this is a matter of, carefully laying in, okay, so I'm going to start with this figure here because he's going to be the most foreground version of Zoom. And I'm going to add one here, and then I'm going to slowly layer them back, each of them swinging different arms so that we see kind of a, left and right kind of movement. We want to alternate arms until we end with a vicious elbow at the end there. Just poof, elbow right across the jaw. That is nasty. Now, what the colorist is going to do with that is called a color hold. And you can count on them to do that. Good colorists know what they're doing. A color hold means that they're going to take the black of these lines and they're going to knock them back into another lighter color. So, we have the outline around Max Mercury. That's black still. That's ink because he is fixed in position. He is, even though he's in motion, he's not in super speed motion at this point. These multiple images of of Reverse Flash, we should not confuse them with the actual Reverse Flash. These are just kind of blurry images. So we're going to take that black line and knock it back to something a little bit more gray, or actually brown in this case. And that makes him sort of fade a little bit. This is another effective tool to use in pushing a background element into the background further. You will do a color hold on it. And I think I talked about that and demonstrated that in Green Lantern Rebirth #1 in that one panel where John Stewart and Guy Gardner are flying above, I think it's Giant Stadium, and Giant Stadium is color held and, reduced and pushed into the background. And it's good. Otherwise, this would be a very confusing panel in color. And, here, we'll see it all through the book. You'll notice color holding all through the book. To hide the after images, to kind of push them back from the main image. I mean, this is obviously Professor Zoom. These are his after images. These are color held in places. And certainly another use of color holding is the lightning. Somebody asked me, they said, what do you do? Do you draw the lightning in pencil and then they just kind of add it? And it's like, no, I actually, this is ink. This is me drawing both sides of each strand of lightning very carefully. And a color hold is put on the line, and then it's colored inside. So that's kind of what you can expect from your colorist when you're doing the flash here and you're using this lightning effect. Nasty, he just pulls this out. This is really good art. I'm happy with this. This book isn't always good artistically. I remember feeling rushed. Feeling rushed, not wanting to make this book any later than it needed to be. And issue #1 took a very long time to do. Here we go again. Look at this. This is fantastic color holding because as Zoom advances on Barry and just hits him harder and harder and harder, pushing him back. The first image back here is super color held light, and then it gets darker and darker and darker as he becomes more, as time, this is the most recent image of Zoom punching Barry. So we kind of fade from light into dark. Barry is just taking it on. He has not found his stride yet. He hasn't. And he's like, we get a face reveal for the first time. And we see the hair that we noticed in issue number 1, the man in the police scientist lab who was struck by lightning. This is Professor Zoom. He's got long gray hair. And I think he does too. I didn't know. I think I found some a version of Professor Zoom from the 1980s, and he had gray hair. I don't remember if it was long or if I added that, but yeah, I try to keep things as historically consistent as I can. I do go back and try to find reference, etc., etc. All right, we should skip. This is some background stuff here. Yeah, he lunges for Zoom, and Zoom just says bye-bye, right through his fingertips there. Right through his fingertips. You just see the storm and the chaos of the Speed Force. This is a place that a normal person could not withstand. You just couldn't be there. Worried about Barry. We're back here with our friends in the Justice League. I don't see the JSA. Maybe they went home. Yeah, but they're all worried. Another great opportunity to draw Hal Jordan. I missed him. And then, yeah, everyone said they liked this pen. I did not like this splash. I still don't like it as I look at it. It's fine. Oh, this is fun. I mean, here we have Wally's kids running around, being pains in the booty. Jai is trying to play video games, and his little sister is just driving him nuts. Jai is someone who is, I mean, he's a little bit slower and more meticulous and thoughtful, I guess, or not thoughtful, but he's gonna sit there and play video games. He doesn't want to be bothered, and his sister Irie, who's a cutie pie, just wants to play. Yeah, and again, Jai's a little bit mean to her, so she runs down the stairs crying. It's another good look at Wally West's house. I like to show how they live. They're blue collar, but they have some money. They're doing okay. Irie just is running down the stairs and is suddenly stopped by something. She runs into something. Irie's very much influenced by and inspired by Katie Power from Power Pack, which was a book that my brother and I loved as kids. Big red ponytail, and coincidentally a yellow costume, which I think was in the comic book. So she actually does look an awful lot like Katie Power. Boom. Here he is. Here's our guy. What's he doing? He's stopping time. He's got his lightning rod jammed through the clock. And poor Irie can't even believe it. This is a great look of fear from this little girl. Is your mother home? Look at that eye. Oh, magnificent. Okay, we'll skip that page. I'm trying to skip pages. It's hard. Yeah. And this is the whole thing now. Zoom has come to Wally's house to take the kids. Take the kids away. Thawne is here. Thawne. Uh-oh. They weren't, listen, everyone's afraid of you, Bart Thawne. Hush now, children. I'll untangle the knots and I'll strangle you with the rope. Boy, is he scary. Now, these kids have superpowers, but he's dangerous. I wouldn't leave my kids alone with him. But suddenly, boom, I mean, from where they were, and remember, we're dealing with speedsters here. It's going to take a split second. Our boys show up and take him out. Jay Garrick just backhands him. Look, bitch slaps. That's a bitch slap. Professor Zoom. While Bart Allen, God bless him, and I'm a fan of Bart Allen, so I'm going to take some extra time with this kid, grabs him and takes him out. He goes low, he goes high, and then crack. I mean, they just take off with him. Get away from those kids. Every window in I guess they're in Central City. No, they're in Keystone. Shatters. Look at that as they take off with him. And what are they doing? They're running and punching each other at super speed right through the Flash parade. Oh, so good. This is a good. I like this. I don't know if it's perfectly drawn. I like it though. Like, that's pleasing. That's a very pleasing 2-page spread, kind of splash shot. Yeah, still fighting. Let's see here. Oops. Okay, let me turn that light off. Still fighting. Good stuff. He blocks it with his. Oh, look. See, you get some double images of Jay Garrick here. Jay Garrick is no slowpoke. Unfortunately, Zoom is much faster, and he actually takes his friction aura away from him, setting him on fire, pushing him at super speed. I mean, Jesus. That's very smart of Jeff Johns. That is really, really great. Good stuff. But, Kid Flash is here. Bart Allen. He's a very, very powerful kid. He's smart. He's not afraid of anything. He puts Jay Garrick out with a quick windstorm, which I don't know if that would put him out or if it would make him worse. I don't really know. Either way, pow. Good for you, Bart. Good for you. But look at this. You're on the wrong side of this feud, boy. Again, Bart Allen is half Thawne and half Allen. His mother is related to Eobard Thawne, and his father is related to, I believe, Barry's son would be Don Allen, and then he is Barry's grandson. So he's got mixed blood, and Thawne is kind of irritated that he is fighting for the Allens and not for what he considers his family. But hell, Bart's a black sheep as far as he's concerned. I love that punch, boy. Oh, I love this kid. He's got my heart. Look at him. He's great. Great. And then we're going to drag him by the mask and the earpiece. Ugh, come here, kid. Like a puppy. And in the meantime, we've got Barry trying to race out of the Speed Force. Yeah, and Wally's coming in. Wally's coming in. Oh, my God. Oh, no, that's great. I forgot I drew this stuff. I really did. Like, I look at it and I go, I have no memory of it. So it's kind of like when you draw something 10 years ago and then you revisit it, having not looked at it since, it's like somebody else drew it and you're able to kind of look at it subjectively. So when I tell you, oh, that's great, that's my genuine feeling as a reader, and, of something that doesn't feel very familiar to me. And I can also be hypercritical of my own work, and especially hypercritical when I haven't seen it in a while. This is a good idea here to have a lightning bolt start at the top of the page, boom, and hit the bottom of the page. Very nice. And that lightning bolt is our boy, our guardian, our friend, our big uncle Max Mercury. One of the older Flashes. I'd say he's almost a senior citizen in a lot of ways. But he's still tough, he's still fun, and of course, look at the look of joy and love on Bart Allen's face. Yeah, I mean, if anyone has actual close family in terms of what's in your heart, it's these two. I mean, these two have been partners and friends, and he's been Bart's guardian for a long, long time, and he loves him, and Bart's happy to see him back. In the meantime, Liberty Bell is starting to figure out what this formula is. And Jeff and I talked about this. I don't think she ever explains. She says, she says it, and then she goes, I know the answer. Jesse Quick, Max Mercury. I don't think she ever thoroughly explains it, but it does represent, in Jeff's theory, it does represent these people, okay? So it's actually these people equal the Speed Force, equal the Speed Force. Yeah. Boom. And here's Barry Allen. It's funny that like this echoes this in so many ways. It's like you've got my two guys here. This is from kind of like the animated. It looks like some kind of animated version of it's from something called First Flight. But it's great that these are almost the same pose. I mean, it's like his arm is up and his fist isn't out, but basically it's the same thing right next to each other. So a little funny. But here comes Barry Allen storming in again. I mean, I emphasize energy and motion, and I try not to make anything look the same all the time. Every time we see these characters, I want them to be doing something that's electrifying, something that's different that we haven't seen them do before. Once again, you have that Infantino Central City skyline. This is traditionally what he would do. I mean, he would just draw that skyline way in the background. We're rarely in the city. It's always like in the background. And here are our guys. I don't know if Jeff asked me to do this or not, but obviously this page stars Barry, so I drew the other guys kind of small. But here's the Flash family, and Zoom might have his hands full now. Flash facts. If you don't know what that is, I mean, if you read old Flash comic books, they would have almost like public service announcements about things, about moving fast, about things that move fast. They call them Flash facts, and it would be like, that's one to grow on. So it's funny, it's cute to name this issue Flash facts. Writer Jeff Johns never fails. Artist Ethan Van Sciver sometimes fails, but mostly is pretty good. Colorist Brian Miller at Hi-Fi. He colored a lot of my stuff in between Moose and my new colorist Jason Wright. Brian and Hi-Fi were my go-to colorists. Yeah, really, really good. And these two guys here, Chris Conroy and Joey Cavalieri, good editors. I drove Joey Cavalieri nuts on Future's End, and I don't think he would work with me again. We'll talk about Future's End. That was trying to think of a way to say it that's not profane. That was unpleasant. But we will talk about that. I'm going to do commentary tracks for everything that I've ever done. Blatantly obvious. Not blatantly obvious. Very honest and forthright about each issue. And I'll tell you a little bit about the behind the scenes moments and some things that worked and some things that didn't. This book mostly really, really worked. I don't think it worked as well as Green Lantern Rebirth, especially Green Lantern Rebirth number 4, which was also, it kind of mirrored this issue in the sense that it was the issue that Sinestro really got into action, and we got to see him. I mean, he shows up in the last page of issue 3, just like in Flash Rebirth, how Zoom shows up on the last page of issue number 3. But issue 4 was the all-villain issue. It was all Sinestro demeaning and demoralizing and defeating the friends of Hal Jordan. Not Hal Jordan himself, really. Just, Kyle Rayner and Green Arrow, and just beating up on Hal's friends. And then, issue 5 became the issue where the two main contenders faced off, and I think that's what's going to happen in issue 5 of Flash Rebirth. We'll find out together on the next commentary track, which will be tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell so you can get notifications for when we do Flash Rebirth number 5 commentary. And tell your friends too. I mean, if they're interested in comics, if they're interested in how-to tutorials on drawing superheroes, well, this channel is going to give them all that, and it's good for beginners, I think. So thank you again. This is the Comic Artist Pro Secrets channel, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.